Ryan never expected anything unusual to happen that night. He had just finished cleaning the small apartment he rented near his community college, and he was getting ready to sleep. The November air outside was cold enough to make the windows shiver, and he loved the quiet that came with late nights. He liked peace, routine, and silence after long days. Everything felt normal until the moment a soft, unexpected knock broke the stillness at exactly 1:01 p.m. First, he thought he imagined it. No one ever visited him that late. His friends usually texted before coming over, and his neighbors never bothered him. But the knock came again, gentle, almost hesitant. Ryan felt a strange tension rise inside him as he walked to the door. When he turned the handle and opened it, he froze in complete surprise. Standing in the dim hallway was Emily Carter, his best friend Ethan's mother. She was usually composed, warm, and confident, the kind of person who made everyone feel safe just by being there. But tonight was different. She looked unsettled, as if something had pushed her out of her house and straight to his door. Her coat wasn't buttoned properly, her hair looked slightly wind-tousled, and her eyes carried a mix of worry and confusion. "Ryan," she said gently, her breath visible in the cold air. "I'm so sorry to come this late. I know it's unusual." He could hear the strain in her voice. Ryan quickly stepped aside and told her to come in, but she didn't move yet. She looked like she was deciding whether stepping inside would make everything too real. Finally, she nodded and entered with slow, careful steps. As soon as she crossed the threshold, Ryan felt the atmosphere change. Emily rarely visited him alone. She saw him often, game nights with Ethan, study breaks, quick dinners, but never like this. Never at night, never with that expression, never with such uncertainty in her movements that he asked if everything was okay, and she shook her head before even speaking. "I didn't know where else to go," she admitted softly. "I didn't want to worry Ethan, and I just needed to talk to someone who would listen." Her words carried a quiet desperation that made Ryan's stomach tighten. He gestured for her to sit, offering a blanket because she looked cold. She thanked him, but her hands were trembling slightly. Not from the weather, something inside her was unsettled. Ryan sat across from her, not too close, giving her space. He didn't want to make her uncomfortable. He had always admired her. Not in a romantic way, not in an inappropriate way, but in the way you admire someone strong, kind, and steady. She had always been the calm voice in Ethan's chaotic life, and the supportive adult Ryan himself sometimes wished he had growing up. Seeing her this shaken was new, and it worried him. Emily took a long breath before speaking again. "This isn't about anything dangerous, so don't panic," she said quickly, noticing his concerned face. "It's just personal, emotional. And I've been holding it in for too long." The seriousness in her tone made Ryan lean forward, listening closely. She kept her eyes on her hands, twisting her fingers nervously. That simple gesture told him she wasn't used to being vulnerable in front of anyone. "I need to tell you something," she said slowly. "Something about Ethan, and also something about us." The last word hit him harder than he expected. "Us?" He hadn't realized there even was an us to talk about. His heart beat a little faster, not out of excitement but confusion. Emily looked up at him then, her eyes soft but weighed with something she had been carrying for too long. Ryan had seen countless emotions in people. Fear during exams, stress during projects, disappointment in relationships, but this was different. This was the look of someone standing at the edge of a truth they were afraid to say aloud. Before he could ask her what she meant, she spoke again, her voice almost a whisper. "I came because I couldn't keep quiet anymore. And once I say this, things might feel different." Her words landed in the quiet room like a secret knocking on its own door. Ryan didn't know what she was about to reveal, but he knew one thing. Whatever she said next was going to keep him awake all night. And it did. Ryan listened quietly as Emily sat on the edge of his couch, gathering her breath as if she had run through miles of emotions before arriving at his door. The room felt warm, but her voice carried a coldness of fear and honesty mixed together. When she finally spoke, she didn't ease into her words. She went straight to what was weighing on her heart. "I've been watching how you help Ethan," she said softly. "You check on him, you keep him focused, and you calm him down better than anyone else." Her voice shook a little. "He listens to you more than he listens to me." Ryan blinked, surprised. He never thought she would come all the way to tell him this. I'm just trying to support him, he said quickly. He's my best friend. I know, she said, offering a small, tired smile. But it means something. And I see it. I see how patient you are with him. She paused, then added, and I'm grateful for it. Her gratitude should have been simple, but it wasn't. There was a shimmer of emotion behind it, something deeper than appreciation. Ryan felt a small twist inside him, the kind that comes when you sense someone is about to reveal something that changes the way you see them. Emily took a slow breath, as if preparing herself for a confession she had been trying to avoid. That's not the only reason I came, she said. Those words pulled Ryan's focus sharply. He leaned forward, unsure of what would come next. I've been holding something back, she admitted. Something about how I feel. She looked down at her hands again, almost embarrassed. You're younger, yes. And you're close to Ethan. That should make this impossible. I know it should. Ryan's heart thumped, not from excitement but from pure confusion. He didn't interrupt her. He just watched as she struggled to find the right words. But every time you show kindness, she continued, her eyes rising to meet his, it changes something inside me. Every time you talk to him or help him or show up for us, I feel something. Something that scares me because it shouldn't be there. The room went still. Emily wasn't dramatic. She wasn't someone who exaggerated feelings. If she said something scared her, it meant she had tried many times to push it away. Ryan felt his breath get tighter. He had always admired her strength and the way she carried herself, but he never imagined she felt anything emotional toward him. Not like this. Not in a way she clearly couldn't hide anymore. I'm not trying to create complications, she said quickly. I'm not asking you for anything. I just needed to be honest with at least one person. And you're the only one I felt safe being honest with. That sentence hit him hard. Ethan, the confession itself. She felt safe with him. He didn't know what to say. And for a moment he simply stared at her, trying to understand the weight of everything she had been carrying. Emily looked away, maybe thinking she had made a mistake, maybe fearing she had just ruined something important. Before he could speak, she took another breath and added, I've tried to ignore these feelings. I've tried to pretend they didn't exist. But ignoring them is making everything worse. And it's affecting how I talk to Ethan, how I sleep, how I think. I just needed someone to hear me. Someone who won't judge me. There was no dramatic music, no sudden spark, just quiet honesty filling the small apartment. Ryan finally found his voice. Emily, he said gently. I never thought. He stopped, unsure how to finish the sentence. He didn't want to say the wrong thing. He didn't want to hurt her more. Emily watched him with careful eyes, waiting. He continued. I didn't know you felt this way. I don't want you to feel alone in this. Her lips trembled into a soft, emotional smile. Not a romantic one, but one of relief. Thank you, she whispered. The room felt like it was holding them both, giving space for feelings neither planned to face that night. Before Ryan could say anything else, Emily whispered something that made time slow for a moment. I just needed you to know the truth, even if nothing comes from it. Those words lingered, gentle but powerful. She wasn't asking for a relationship. She wasn't asking for promises. She was simply sharing a truth she could no longer carry alone. And that truth changed everything about the quiet November night that began with a knock at 11 p.m. The apartment was quiet after Emily's confession, but it was a heavy silence, full of words unspoken and emotions hanging in the air. Ryan stayed where he was, unsure whether to move closer or stay in his chair. Emily looked smaller somehow, though she was usually confident and self-assured. She seemed fragile in that moment, like someone carrying a secret too heavy to keep any longer. Her hands twisted nervously in her lap, and her eyes didn't leave him, searching for a reaction he didn't know how to give. I don't want to make this uncomfortable, she said softly, almost apologetically. I know it's unusual. I know it might even feel wrong to you. I'm not expecting anything. I just needed to say it before it built up inside me any longer. Her voice was low, but every word carried honesty, and Ryan felt the weight of it pressing gently but firmly on him. He hadn't expected this. He had never imagined that Emily, Ethan's mom, could ever feel anything like this toward him. And yet here she was, sharing the kind of truth that leaves people awake for nights, questioning what they feel and what they should do. Ryan's mind raced. He wanted to respond, but he didn't want to say the wrong thing. Every word felt critical. He had always admired Emily in a quiet, respectful way. She was someone who could brighten a room with her smile, someone who had been a constant presence in his and Ethan's life. But admiration was one thing. Feelings were something completely different, and the realization that she might feel something too made his heart pound. He had never faced a situation like this before. It was delicate, emotional, and completely unexpected. Emily's eyes softened as she watched him, a mix of hope and fear dancing in their depths. "I've tried to push it away," she admitted. "I thought it would be easier if I ignored it, pretended it didn't exist. But ignoring it doesn't work. It never does. And now I had to tell someone I trust. Someone who won't judge me." Her voice caught slightly at the end, and Ryan realized she had been holding this inside for a long time. It wasn't a fleeting thought. It was something that had grown quietly, persistently, until she could no longer contain it. He swallowed hard, feeling an unexpected warmth in his chest. He wanted to comfort her, but he also wanted to understand fully what this meant. "Emily," he said gently, "I don't know exactly what to say, but I don't want to make you feel alone in this." His voice was calm, steady, and honest, because he wanted her to know he was listening, that her honesty mattered to him. She nodded slightly, a small but meaningful gesture that told him she appreciated it. "I'm not asking for a relationship," she said after a pause, as if anticipating his fear. "I'm not asking for promises. I only needed to say it out loud. I needed someone to hear it before it stayed inside me and became something I couldn't handle." Her words were measured, sincere, and full of vulnerability. Ryan realized that this was a moment of trust, a moment where someone had opened their heart to him completely, without expecting anything in return. And he understood just how rare and important that was. For a few minutes they sat in quiet together. There was no awkwardness, no rush to move past it, just the gentle awareness that something significant had been shared. Ryan felt a growing sense of connection, not because of romance yet, but because of the honesty and trust that filled the room. He realized that sometimes the right thing isn't about moving fast or acting quickly. It's about listening, holding space, and being present when someone shows their heart. Emily finally stood up, glancing at the clock and then back at him. "I should go," she said softly, almost reluctantly. "Ethan will start worrying if I'm gone too long. But thank you for listening, for understanding. That means more than I can say." Her voice carried relief, but also a subtle sadness, the kind that comes from sharing something you've carried alone for too long. Ryan nodded, knowing this wasn't the end of the conversation, just the first step toward something neither of them could yet define. She moved toward the door. She stopped and turned back. Her eyes met his, filled with sincerity and a hint of hope. "Sometimes the heart knows things the mind doesn't expect," she whispered. "And even if the timing isn't perfect, it doesn't make the feeling any less real." Then she left, closing the door gently behind her. Ryan sat there, the room suddenly feeling both emptier and fuller at the same time. Her words lingered in his mind, a soft echo he couldn't shake. He realized he would remember this night, not just for what she said, but for the trust, the honesty, and the quiet emotional weight of it. He couldn't sleep. He couldn't stop thinking. He knew that things had changed, subtly but profoundly, and that this night would stay with him forever. It wasn't a dramatic scene with loud emotions or exaggerated gestures. It was quiet, personal, and intimate, the kind of moment that leaves a lasting impression, shaping hearts quietly yet deeply. Ryan didn't sleep that night. Her words kept replaying in his mind, over and over, like a soft echo he couldn't turn off. Emily's confession, the way she looked at him, the honesty in her voice, it all stayed with him. He stared at the ceiling, tracing the shadows of the room, trying to make sense of his feelings. He knew he cared about her. He had always admired her, but now it was different. Now there was a depth, a connection he couldn't ignore. Her words weren't asking for anything immediate, but they had opened a door he couldn't close. Morning came quietly, sunlight spilling across his room. Ryan moved slowly, still thinking about last night. He knew one thing. He couldn't pretend the night hadn't happened. He couldn't act like nothing had changed. He wanted to talk to her again, to understand what she felt, and to share his own thoughts honestly. He wanted to respect her feelings, to acknowledge what she had trusted him with. For hours he sat with his coffee, rehearsing what he could say, how he could approach the situation with care. By the time he drove to the Carter house, he felt nervous, excited, and unsure all at once. When he arrived, Emily opened the door. Surprise flickered across her face as she saw him standing there, calm but determined. Ryan felt a sudden wave of warmth just seeing her. He had spent hours thinking about her words, about the trust she had placed in him. "I wanted to talk," he said softly, his voice steady but sincere. "About last night." She stepped aside, letting him enter, her expression guarded yet hopeful. He noticed the subtle tremor in her hands, the way she glanced at the floor before meeting his eyes. It was a mix of anticipation and fear, and it made his heart tighten. He walked into the living room slowly, keeping his movements gentle, careful not to overwhelm her. Emily followed, staying close but giving him space. Ryan sat down on the couch first, waiting for her to settle before speaking. The room felt charged, filled with quiet emotion. He wanted to express everything, but words felt fragile in such a delicate moment. "Emily," he began, "I don't know exactly what the future looks like, and I don't know how complicated this could get, but I can't ignore what I feel either." His eyes met hers, steady and honest, reflecting the same vulnerability she had shown him. Emily's lips trembled into a small, emotional smile, her eyes glistening. She didn't speak immediately, letting his words sink in. The silence wasn't awkward. It was a shared space of understanding. Ryan continued, "I don't want to pretend nothing happened. I feel a connection to, even if the timing isn't perfect. I want to see where this goes, slowly, respectfully, and honestly." He wanted her to know he wasn't rushing anything, that he valued her feelings and her trust above all. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper, yet full of emotion. "I'm not asking for promises," she said. "I'm not asking for anything except honesty. I only wanted you to know the truth about my feelings." Ryan nodded, understanding completely. They didn't need labels or expectations or immediate answers. What mattered was that they had been honest with each other, and that honesty had created a new kind of closeness. He realized that some connections didn't need explanations. Some feelings didn't need timing to be real. Ryan felt relief and warmth all at once. He had spent the night worrying, wondering if he should respond or stay silent. Now, hearing her words and being able to respond with sincerity, he felt a weight lift from his chest. He could feel the beginning of something delicate but meaningful. It wasn't a dramatic declaration of love, and it wasn't a promise of a future. It was a start, a quiet, mutual understanding that something significant had begun between them. Emily's eyes softened as she looked at him, a mixture of hope, relief, and lingering nervousness. Ryan reached out instinctively, offering a reassuring smile. "We'll take it one step at a time," he said. "No rush, no pressure. Just honesty, patience, and respect." She nodded, her hand brushing lightly against her chest, as if feeling the relief settle there. There was no grand gesture, no exaggerated emotion. It was quiet, real, and full of unspoken understanding. For the first time since that knock at 11 p.m., Ryan felt a sense of peace. The night had been heavy with emotion, and yet it had brought clarity. He realized that honesty could change everything, that sharing feelings, even complicated, delicate ones, could create something meaningful. Emily smiled again, softer this time, more genuine. Ryan returned the smile, feeling the same quiet hope she carried. And in that calm moment he understood. This was only the beginning, but it was a beginning filled with trust, respect, and the possibility of something beautiful. The rest of the day passed in a gentle haze. Both of them moved carefully, aware of the change in their relationship, aware of the connection that had been acknowledged and respected. Ryan knew the night's events would stay with him forever, not as a secret, not as a mistake, but as the start of a story that had just begun to unfold. He realized that sometimes the right person shows up at an unexpected time, and all that mattered was being honest, being patient, and being ready to feel. The knock at 11 p.m. hadn't just changed the night, it had changed everything.